Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. Before we read, let's invoke the blessing of the Lord. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhayeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govindaha Sarvakarana Karanam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So Hare Krishna devotees, we have been reading from Trinadapi Sunichena book by Srila Gaur Govinda Swami Maharaj. Srila Gaur Govinda Swami Maharaj ki Jai. And Friday Ishwar Krishna Prabhu read. So today we are reading from 158 page number. Other sadhakas first renounce everything and then they get Bhagavan. But what have you done? From the very beginning of your lives, you have developed pure love for the Purushottam Krishna. Because of the love you have automatically renounced everything. Others' renunciation is sadhana and sadhya, the means and the end of spiritual practice. They do sadhana and in the end they achieve sadhya. However, your renunciation is automatic. It is not considered a means to an end because you have such pure, deep love for Krishna. You are teaching the whole world that Krishna Prema is Parama Purushartha, the supreme goal, Sadhya Shiromani. You are the embodiment of that Prema Mahabhava. Next, Viraha is displayed to show mercy. Sarvatma Bhavo Adhikrito Bhavati Nam Adhokshaji Virhena Mahabhaga Mahan में Anugraha Krita. You have rightfully claimed the privilege of unalloyed love for the transcendental Lord. O most glorious gopis, indeed, by exhibiting your love for Krishna in separation from him, you have shown me great mercy. When prema becomes more condensed, it develops into sneha. When sneha is condensed, it becomes mana. When mana becomes condensed, it turns into pranaya. Pranaya in more condensed form becomes raga. When raga becomes more condensed, it develops into anuraga. When anuraga is more condensed, it becomes bhava. And when bhava becomes still more condensed, then it ultimately becomes mahabhava. This mahabhava is the eighth and final place of the development of transcendental love. You gopis are all mahabhava mai, the embodiment of that mahabhava. Even Lakshmi Devi cannot have what you have obtained. In my opinion, there can be no separation in such Mahabhav. How can Krishna be separated from those who have developed such love, Mahabhav? You are so very, very fortunate. I have thought very deeply about this, and in my opinion, your Viraha separation is only an external affair. Bahiranga Vyapara. Krishna is within you and without, and also inside and outside. I cannot understand this, and I am not able to find any language to express it. Only to shower some mercy on me, Uddhava, whose Jiva Dhamma, a most degraded Jiva, you have developed this Viraha. After thinking deeply about it, I have come to the conclusion that there can never be any Viraha for you. How can Krishna be separated from you? Krishna becomes bound up by love, and you have developed such pure love. Virahena Mahabhaga Mahan me Anugraha Krita. Only to show some mercy on a degraded jiva like myself, Uddhava, you have displayed such viraha. Otherwise, there would be no viraha at all. Next, Uddhava answers. Uddhava's answer. We should understand how Uddhava changed. First, he was thinking himself to be very dear to Krishna, a great Gyani, Pandita, Brahaspati Shishya, a very knowledgeable disciple of Brahaspati. Now that his pride has been crushed, he condemned himself and says, I, Uddhava, am most degraded and most fallen. In order to show mercy on me, this viraha is displayed. Otherwise, there would be no viraha. This prem is something very powerful. Shakti Sarva Vastu. I had heard of it and I had faith in it, but I had not actually seen the glory of prema. Now I have had the chance to see with my own eyes what Krishna Prem is. If there had been such viraha, such separation, then Krishna would not have sent me here. He sent me here to you, and now I am thinking that this is a great fortune. I am a very fortunate coming to Vrajbhumi and seeing you. You are the embodiment of Krishna Prem, Mahabhava Bhakti. Krishna has showed great mercy on me, allowing me to see you. You have asked me why there is a viraha in Noro Padhi Prema. In answer, I say that in order to show some mercy on pity on me, this Jiva Dhamma, most degraded Jiva, Uddhava, such viraha is there. I do not know what other answer there is. Uddhava is his very dear devotee, Sujana, Krishna's own man, and by sending him to Vrajbhumi, Krishna has crushed his pride in a very wonderful way. Next, give up pride. The following Bhagavatam verse, which was recited by the gopis at the time when Krishna all of a sudden disappeared from the rasa dance, is very significant in this regard. Vraja janarti han virha vira yositam nij jana samaya dhvamsana smita bhaj sakhe bhavat kinkari smano jalaru anand nam charu dasya. O you who destroy the suffering of Raja's people, O hero of all women, your smile shatters the false pride of your devotees. Please, dear friend, accept us, your maidservants, and show us your beautiful lotus face. The verse says, Niji jana smaya dhvamsana. If by chance pride develops in his devotees, then Krishna crushes that pride. He crushed the pride of Arjuna by showing him the Jambuka, and here he crushed the pride of Uddhava by sending him to Vrajabhumi. Pride is a great hindrance on the path of bhakti. It is a demonic quality. Dambo darpo bimanas. Therefore, Mahaprabhu says, Trinadapi sunichena taroriva sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniye sadahari. Give up pride. Think yourself much humbler than a blade of grass lying in the street. Be as tolerant as tree. Do not demand respect for yourself. Rather, offer respect to one and all. With this attitude, you should chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. If you do this, then definitely you will develop Krishna Prem and your life will be successful. This is a very deep topic. I do not know how many have understood it, but if some devotees have understood it, then I will have achieved my some success. So I think the next section is very big. So we'll stop here and then start the next section tomorrow. There are again question answer between a devotee and Srila Gaur Govinda Swami Maharaj. So it's a new topic, so we'll start tomorrow. Srila Gaur Govinda Swami Maharaj ki jai. So now we'll read Srila Prabhupada Leelamrita. On Friday, Ishwar Krishna Prabhu read, and we are starting from page 29. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Holiness Satsvarup Das Goswami Maharaj ki jai. So we are at chapter Please Distribute Books. Walking back towards the temple, Prabhupada saw a poor man evacuating by the roadside in public view. He is not changing his standard despite public opinion. Prabhupada said, can we not maintain our standards as strictly as they are maintaining theirs? A letter was drafted and signed by Tamal Krishna Goswami, Prabhupada's secretary, and Prabhupada signed also on a line marked approved. The letter stated that all Sankirtan devotees should wear tilak, dhotis, neck beads, and shikha, and should depend on Krishna rather than disguises to help distribute books. At the bottom of the letter, however, was a PS. Srila Prabhupada, upon checking the above, added, if they like, they may wear coat and pants. But tilak, shikha, beads, these things should be there. Previously, Srila Prabhupada had addressed this subject in various letters. To Jagadisha in Canada, Prabhupada had replied that there was no objection to wearing Western clothes, including a wig or hat. We have to take whatever is favorable position for executing Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada had written, sometimes we may adopt such means in order to help distribute books. But in February 1973, he had written to Rupanuga that he did not want devotees dressing as hippies. This should be stopped. We should not give anyone cause to call us hippies. But devotees may dress up in respectable clothes like ladies and gentlemen in order to distribute my literature under special circumstances. Wherever there are individuals, there are bound to be differences of opinion. Srila Prabhupada preferred to be spared such detailed management. His GBC men should consult among themselves and then present their conclusions to him for a final decision. In this way, Prabhupada had written, I will be free to concentrate on my translation of Srimad Bhagavatam. The letter from India reached Karandhara in Los Angeles. But before announcing that all Sankirtan in Western clothes must be stopped, he wanted Prabhupada to hear his side of the story. He gave an elaborate report on the benefits of devotees wearing ordinary Western dress while selling books. The main thing Prabhupada seemed to be objecting to, he concluded, was a disreputable appearance, devotees looking like hippies. He now informed Prabhupada that distributors were actually clean, well groomed, and presentable. If book distributors were restricted to appearing in public with shaved head and dhoti, he said then distribution would decline by two-thirds. If extremes and misapplications have occurred, he wrote, they should be worked out rather than giving up whole program. This time Prabhupada replied in favor of Western dress. Yes, you can go on with your book distribution as you were doing before. There is not any harm. I thought that our men were becoming like hippies, but now I understand from you that this is not the case. So I have no objection. Our main business is to distribute books, and from the reports I'm receiving from all over the world, the progress is very encouraging. A disagreement arose about the distributor's techniques. A few people had written his con secretary complaining that they had been misled or pressured into buying a book, a complaint to which devotees respond variously. The book distributors were protective of Prabhupada's order that as many books as possible be distributed. Just because a few people had complained, they argued, was no reason to cool down book distribution. They quoted Srila Prabhupada's statement that opposition to Sankirtana indicates its purity and genuineness. Srila Prabhupada had explained this point in his books in discussing the historical incidents of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan parties being stopped by Muslim government. Prabhupada had written, quote, we must remember that such incidents took place in the past, 500 years ago, and the fact that they are still going on indicates that our Sankirtan movement is really authorized. And for if Sankirtana were an insignificant material affair, demons would not object it. People in America had also objected to public chanting, to the devotee's dress, to the Krishna consciousness philosophy, to the food. Someone would always oppose. The main thing the book distributors said was to save the conditioned souls who were heading for a hellish next life. If a person got a book and read just one page, his life could be changed. Other devotees, however, including temple presidents, were disturbed by the complaints. Someone recalled that Prabhupada had already addressed this point in 1970. Quote, do all activities with great enthusiasm. All our activities must be open so that no one may criticize our mission. So all dealings must be to the standard of Vaishnavism. As everything is undertaken forthrightly in Krishna consciousness, in a Krishna conscious way, then Lord Krishna will be pleased to provide all facilities for adding such sincere service. Srila Prabhupada wanted the book distributors to execute his order, but he was not giving them a license to do anything and everything and claim it was for Krishna. Preaching required expertise. not only in getting people to take a book, but in giving them the right impression. The book distributors maintained that they were doing the best they could, but that they would try to improve. If other devotees thought they could do better, then they should demonstrate how to distribute books without disturbing anyone. Distributing books all day, day after day, was hard. People were already agitated by their minds and senses and harassed by their occupations, governments, and personal relationships. No wonder even an innocent devotee sometimes disturbed them. The tactics in question were mostly the book distributors' lines. The distributors would say that they were students, that they were helping get young people off drugs, or that books were about how to solve modern day crises. None of these things were untrue, but emphasis was sometimes excessive. A mature devotee could speak more directly. Tripurari would tell how the books described an ancient civilization in which people knew how life should be lived. He would present himself as a representative of an organization that had communities all over the world, where people could benefit from the example of an alternative lifestyle. Tripuraris and others were able to be both personal and in casual way, philosophical as they spoke about spiritual life. They made a quick friends with strangers and convinced them to take books. But more and more devotees were taking up book distribution, and many were inexperienced. Srila Prabhupada's philosophy was clear, but different interpretations persisted. Without referring to specific techniques, Prabhupada simply stressed the purity of book distribution and encouraged the book distributors to continue without interruption. The main thing was to distribute books. The devotees continued to press Srila Prabhupada for further clarification. The book distributors were concerned that the urgency of book distribution was not be minimized, whereas other responsible ISKCON leaders were concerned that loose practices might hamper the society's progress. Prabhupada replied to question by Bali Mardana of New York with a letter that became particularly influential. Quote, the real preaching is selling books. You should know the tactic how to sell without irritating. What your lecture will be, what your lecture will do for 3 minutes. But if he reads one page, his life may be turned. We do not want to irritate anyone. However, if he goes away by the aggressive tactics, then you are nonsense and it is your failure. Neither you could sell a book, neither he would remain. But if he buys a book, that is the real successful preaching. Prabhupada's position was clear. Books should be sold, but expertly. Unless there be any doubt, Prabhupada reiterated that the book distribution was the best preaching. The success of your preaching will be substantiated by how many books are sold. Prabhupada also wrote, the art is to sell many books and not to irritate the public. As the books continued to go out by millions, many people expressed their thanks on receiving a book. Only occasionally would someone complain. But within ISKCON, the dialogue regarding book distribution technique continued. When Sri Govinda, the president of ISKCON Chicago, wrote Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada encouraged him in his attempt to reform the devotees engaged in excessive practices. Quote, so it is not very much advisable to make lies just to sell books. If we simply stick to describing how wonderful is Krishna, that will not be a lie. But other things, lies, they will not help us to train ourselves in truthfulness. Lie to someone, lie to some, not to others. That is not a good philosophy. Rather, Brahmanis are always truthful, even to their enemies. There is sufficient merit in our books that if you simply describe them sincerely to anyone, they will buy. That art you must develop, not art of lying. Convince them to give by your preaching the absolute truth, not by tricking. That is more mature stage of development of Krishna consciousness. Next, November 1973. Scores of men and women were going out every day to distribute books. One November day, the devotees of the New York City temple broke the ISKCON world record by distributing 13,200 pieces of literature. On the same day, they also distributed 15,000 pieces of prasadam. The ISKCON total for 1973 was 400,169 books sold. When Srila Prabhupada received these figures, he replied to Rameshwar. Yeah, 4,169,000 books sold. When Srila Prabhupada received these figures, he replied to Rameshwara, I have faith in your words that next year the figures will be far beyond what they were last year. It is nature of spiritual energy. It is always increasing if we just apply our energy. Early in January 1974, Srila Prabhupada again returned to Los Angeles. One morning, he gave a Srimad Bhagavatam lecture stressing book distribution. There is no literature throughout the universe like Srimad Bhagavatam, he said. There is no comparison or competition. Every word, every word in is for the good of the human society. Each and every word. Therefore, we stress so much in the book distribution. Somehow or other, if book goes in one's hand, he will be benefited. At least he will see, I have taken so much price. Let me see what is there. If he reads one shloka, his life will become successful. If he reads one shloka, one word, this is such a nice thing. Therefore, we are stressing so much. Please distribute books, distribute books, distribute books. Next, the year 1974 began with what appeared to be a serious setback. The Supreme Court ruled against Vietnamese war protesters distributing political leaflets in private malls. Citizens of non-profit groups, religious included, could solicit and private property only with permission from proprietor. The malls that book distributors had frequently frequented were suddenly off limits. The same constitution that banned devotees from private property, however, gave them access to public property. And when ISKCON devotees filed a lawsuit against the city owned Las Vegas airport, they won an immediate injunction on the basis that airport was denying them their right to free speech. This ruling promised to open a new era in book distribution, with possibilities of legalizing Sankirtan in all major airports. Devotees saw this as proof that Krishna was working through Prabhupada to increase book distribution. No previous spiritual master had ever distributed Vedic literature on so great scale. This was another sign that Srila Prabhupada was Krishna's empowered representative. And by the devotees' effort to follow Prabhupada's order, Krishna was empowering them also, but only if they were willing to go through the trials of surrender and renunciation. Prabhusha. I went out one day to the airport and I walked up to one black man and said, "Excuse me, sir," and bam, he punched me right in the face and knocked me down. At that moment, so many thoughts went through my mind. I could just hear Tirupurari's word ringing in my ear from the class that morning. We must be determined. So I just said to myself, well, I will just stand right back and keep trying. I stood up and I got the inspiration to just turn around and try to hand the next person's one of the Prabhupada books. Another time, a husband and wife approached me, but the husband did not want anything to do with me. When the woman saw the book was spiritual, she stopped and said, "What is this book about?" I said very bluntly, "This book explains birth and death and what is beyond." She said, "Oh." Then she turned to her husband and said, "Please buy it." But he said, "I don't want it. Come on, let's go." She said, "Please." But her husband said, "You buy it." And he walked off. So she stayed with me and said, "Could you tell me a little more about this?" I started to explain the book and then I said, "Where are you coming from?" She said, "I'm coming from Rochester." Then she revealed to me that she was coming from the Mayo Clinic and that she had terminal cancer and was going to die. She said, "I desperately want to read this book." She gave me $10 and said, "Thank you very much." Then she took the book and ran off. A little later, she came back and found me and shook my hand and thanked me. These kind of experiences that devotees would have day in, day out gave us feeling of being like emissaries or representatives of something very special. By this, we became more attached to Srila Prabhupada and to executing his work. We would see these miracles take place. So we'll stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Gurudev ki jai. His Holiness Satsvarup Das Goswami Maharaj ki jai. So thank you, dear devotees, for listening to me. And please forgive me if I said something wrong or not read properly. So, do anybody has any question, correction, chastisement, or any realization before we continue chanting? All right. So there is no question. So, dear devotees, this is so good today that the distribution of books was so emphasized in experiences when sometimes we get disappointed when somebody discouraged us, right? But it's a mix of experiences because all mix of peoples are there. But book distribution is so blissful. And one thing Prabhupada drive home today is distribute books without disturbing people. So we should not irritate people, but at the same time genuinely explain. And we need not lie anything just to distribute book. Rather present the philosophy as is, right? Because there are people who are looking to hear the truth. Not everybody looking for, but there are people, there are good souls for which Krishna sent Prabhupada here. And then Uddhava's also that learning that pride should not come in us in any form, because Krishna does not like pride in his devotees. And immediately he made arrangement. Even the person like Uddhava, who's disciple of Brahaspati, he arranged that you go to gopis. And earlier he was thinking that he's the greatest jnani, but when he met gopis, he was surprised. And he was, other day, we read that when somebody is crying for material things, we give sympathy and then tell them why you're thinking about material thing. Think about Krishna. But when somebody is crying for Krishna, what sympathy can be given? Uddhava saying, I cannot say stop crying for Krishna. That's an offense. Rather, he was thinking I should tell cry more, right? So, and gopis, although it appear as viraha, separation, but actually is not separation because Krishna's name, Krishna's thought, Krishna's paraphernalia, Krishna, they are not different. So when you think about Krishna, actually you're associating with Krishna. When you chant about Krishna, you're associating with Krishna. When you eat Krishna Prasadam, you are associating with Krishna. So Krishna's anything is actually Krishna. So where is the question of separation? Yes, externally it look like because that oh Krishna is not physically present, so it looked like oh they are in separation, but actually they were with Krishna. They were in thought of Krishna, and that is a very wonderful feeling. When you keep thinking about Krishna, your heart automatically becomes happy. We should try at least one day, and especially Ekadasi is the best opportunity. The whole day think about Krishna. And sometimes I feel we should do fasting from the phone also. One day we should say, hey, today I'm taking leave, no phone. I will not look at the phone. Right. If any email, you can ask your wife to look at. But such a good feeling. But more we think about Krishna, the more pleasure will come. And that is why, the when we do concentrated chanting, attentive chanting, that time your heart becomes very pleased. I wish there should be some machine or some device which can measure the bliss we get when we do kirtan, when we do chanting, right? The bliss is like there's no, I mean, dopamine is, they say then, right? Happiness is like release of dopamine chemical, but definitely, you know, dopamine has top level when we do any activity related to Krishna. So we'll stop here and we'll continue chanting. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhu vevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda ki jai.